Hey there, just doing the next in this independence series. I'm seeing one of the errors repeating itself, and then it happens a lot. That's part of why I'm doing these. Like I said, I made a lot of these mistakes already uh, in people trying to promote independence, and we got to get it right, guys. One of the problems that's going on is some people, some groups are trying to be everything to everybody, and we've got a whole lot of questions, a whole lot of whatabouts, a whole lot of gaps to fill before we can get to those conditions for a positive vote. But trying to just fill them by making claims that perhaps you can't back, that doesn't help, because this is all going to be about trust. It's going to be about trust. That's how you build support. That's how the one-on-one, the grassroots thing gets going. And when somebody sounds disingenuous, like the car salesman, they're trying to just say whatever they think it takes to get you into that car, it'll give you an aversion to whatever they're pushing. So what I'm talking about is with the independence, if you're going to go for independence, if you're going to go for this referendum, you got to mean it. You have to mean it. You can't beat around the bush. This is where Quebec went wrong. This is where trust got broken, when they started mushing things up. That's why the Clarity Act came about. They started talking about, well, we're not going to be an independent necessarily. We're going to do sovereignty association. Well, what does that mean? Well, what do you want it to mean? And that's when, so I mean, there were some valid questions after the Quebec independence vote in the 90s. Did people really vote for independence, or were they voting for some sort of notion of sovereignty association, which really didn't have a clear definition? That's why they brought about the Clarity Act. And then in Alberta, Saskatchewan, if we're going to have a referendum, when we're going to have a referendum, should get to that, we're going to be, though, following what's laid out in the Clarity Act. And that's fair enough. We should. That means it has to be a clear question. And that question, I mean, we got to figure out exactly how it's going to be phrased. Perhaps the phrasing of the question that the Alberta Prosperity Project came up with is adequate as it is. Great if that's the case, because that kind of gets to the point. The question has to be straight to the point. Do you want Alberta or Saskatchewan to remain in Confederation or not? Simple as that. It has to be clear. I'm not saying it's phrased like that, but you know what I mean. It's got to be in or out, not halfway in. You can't be half pregnant. There's no sovereignty association. So part of the issue that came up was people saying, well, you can still maintain a Canadian passport post-independence. No, you can't. This will be an independent nation. See, that was some of the hogwash Quebec was spreading before their referendum. They were saying, oh, no, you'll still have a Canadian passport. It won't be full independence. It'll be sovereignty association. They kind of wanted the best of everything. They wanted to keep taking transfer payments and getting whatever benefits they could from Canada, but essentially having all of that authority of an independent nation, sort of similar to what some of the Assembly of First Nations think they should get too. No, we want to pay our own bills and have our own nation. And you've got to be clear on that. So we got to answer those questions. People were, the big, I think, reason people are responding, a lot of the fear that's holding things back is a lot in the boomers. It's the seniors. They're worried about their pension. I already did a video on the pension. We've got to remind people 100 times over, nobody's going to take away your pension. Nobody. Over and over and over again, nobody will take away your pension. But if we become independent, it will be an Alberta pension plan. We might even get that plan before we become independent. But your pension plan will never be lower than what it is. If we get to the point of, so let's talk about that. We vote to go. Let's say that happens. Great. That's what I want to happen. And it's a clear one, 55% or more. Great. It doesn't mean we're gone the day after. As per the Clarity Act, now the negotiations begin. They begin for our exit. And as per the Act, the country is supposed to negotiate in good faith with us. If they don't negotiate in good faith, that's a different rabbit hole to go down, but that's what will eventually end up with a unilateral declaration of independence. So let's say we hadn't settled the pension plan yet, and now we're voted to go independent, and that's one of the facets. We're saying, well, we've got to set up our own plan. And Canada says, well, we're not going to give you any of the balance from the Canada pension plan. Okay, that's fine. We'll just figure out, 12, 14% of what the balance was in that plan. We'll deduct that from the national debt you expect us to carry. That's how negotiation works. We will balance it out, and we'll make it work. OAS, GIS, those sorts of things. People need them. They can be replicated in an independent province. Passports, that's another one. And Quebec said that as well, and Jason Kenney used that as a thing to go on about the other day. No, we won't have Canadian passports once the independence is done. We won't. We will have Alberta passports or whatever the new nation is. And it's not impossible. There are hundreds of countries out there. People talk about, how are you ever going to come up with a passport? Well, maybe like the other 140 countries did. It's not that tough. Currency. We can make another currency. It's not that tough. But don't try to convince people that we can be halfway in between. We are not going to maintain the Canadian dollar when we become independent. Why should we? Be stupid. Let the Central Canadians still kill our currency further? No. And no, we won't have a Canada pension plan. We will have our own pension plan. But don't try to comfort people by trying to convince them saying, well, we'll maintain some of these aspects and, disassociate from others. No, guys, it's all or nothing. And I know that makes it perhaps feel like it's harder to get that positive vote that we need. I mean, that's getting back to what I keep saying in these videos. That's what I'm saying at the presentations, the speeches. This is a marathon, guys. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of organizing to do. We have a lot of people to convince. I mean, 36%, the people who want to hold a referendum tomorrow or next week or next month are insane. We're nowhere even close to a winning level of support yet. We're going to get there, but we've got to build it. And trying to skip ahead or make up things as if we'd have some sort of sovereignty association like Quebec did. No. And there's other people, you hear some of them saying, no, we don't really want to go. We just want independence for leverage, like Quebec uses, Well, when you say that, what you're kind of doing is playing poker with your cards facing the other person. You're telling them you're bluffing right off the bat. And I'm not telling people to bluff or lie. I'm saying we got to mean it. You got to mean it. You got to really want to go. That's the only way this is going to work. So no halfway, no assuming a bit of this and a bit of that. There's a lot of variables. There's one of the areas I could, speculate on post-independence vote that maybe a whole new deal could be negotiated as a nation-to-nation sort of thing after that, and a close association or things like that. I don't know. But as far as the vote goes and what we're pursuing and what goes ahead, it has to be a full cut, guys. There's no halfway about it. It just won't work that way. So be careful, be patient. Let's keep working on trying to centralize some of this. I know there's going to be meetings coming with some of the people who speak for the movement a bit. Maybe we'll get a little more of a consistent message and we'll be walking on the same path. But in the meantime, I mean, I keep trying with these videos to talk to the individuals because the groups are vital and important as we go ahead. But it's that individual to individual that I feel is so important. That base, those as I call them, independence ambassadors. We're going to speak to friends, family, coworkers, wherever, and help build that base of support. But you need that grounding. So this grounding, I'm offering in the same sense to an individual as I would to the group. Just don't promise the world if it's not real. People won't trust it, and it's not the way to do it. The reality, though it might sound harsh at this point, is independence means independence and nothing less. And if we can't sell it based on that, we don't deserve to become independent. We have to have a clear deal on what we're going for. And we've got all the cards, guys. We can do it. We've got the economy to do it. We've got the means. We've got the culture. So let's not try to skip ahead. Let's not try to cut corners. Let's not try to make up fictional scenarios where we would be partially in the nation and partially not. It's all or nothing. Again, I'll finish off with the usual plug, though, and it's been selling great. Thank you for all of you who would buy in it. And somebody mentioned, it's true enough, this is the Sovereigntist Handbook I wrote. I mean, yes, it covers this. It covers all sorts of issues within it. Helps train individuals to become better advocates for independence. I'd really like you to get a copy. I appreciate it. No, you'll get everything eventually out of these videos. And I think it was Melanie. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting who it was. Somebody tweeted at me and said, look, why don't you encourage people to, because, people are on a budget or whatever, buy the book if they bought it and share it out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Get it around. I don't have to sell new copies to everybody. I just want what's in there to be shared with others so we can quit making some of the more visible mistakes in this movement and get this thing done. So thank you if you've already bought a copy. If you haven't already, consider picking them up. There's audio and such. And yeah, if you have one and you've already read it end to end, share it with a friend. Give it out to somebody. Put it out at work, whatever. We got to get the word out there. Keep giving me feedback. I got a lot of great feedback on the Alberta culture thing. It's hard to define, but we're getting closer to it. And I'll have another video coming pretty soon. I want to talk. That'll be a bit of a longer one covering a lot of things, but it'll be on the economics of independence because it's really important. There's a lot of baloney, of course, coming from the parasite provinces saying we can't afford to go, and the math is pretty clear that actually we can't afford to stay. So thanks for watching this one. And